The trucks might still look the same, but the system controlling them does not. Self-driving trucks are no longer a science fiction experiment confined to test tracks and demos. They are already moving into real freight routes, real partnerships, and real commercial use. It is happening quietly, one corridor at a time, until it starts to feel normal. And once it feels normal, it becomes very hard to stop. Here is the real question behind all of this. When the human driver fades into the background, who starts calling the shots? Most people still imagine autonomous trucking as a future problem. They picture a prototype vehicle with a safety driver and a distant someday where it might matter. But the reality is simpler and more unsettling. Trucking is the bloodstream of modern life. Food, medicine, electronics, building materials, and nearly everything you touch moves by truck at some point. In the United States, freight data shows trucks move around half of all measured tonnage and more than half of shipment value. In 2024 alone, trucks moved over 11 billion tons of freight across the country. So when AI starts taking control of trucking, it is not just improving delivery times, it is gaining influence over how the economy breathes. If trucking is this important, why is the shift happening now? And why does it feel so quiet? Routing, timing, fuel use, maintenance, and load priority are increasingly decided by software. Driving is only one piece of a much larger machine. They are industrial partnerships built for scale. Kodiak AI recently announced a partnership with Bosch to scale production of hardware and sensors for autonomous trucks. The plan even includes retrofitting existing trucks, which signals deployment rather than experimentation. Words like production, ready, and redundant are not marketing fluff. They are the language of permanence. So what is pushing the industry toward this future? The answer is economics. Trucking runs on thin margins. Small efficiency gains translate into enormous competitive advantages. If one company can move freight with fewer delays, lower fuel use, and less downtime, it wins. Once one company wins, the rest are forced to follow or fall behind. That is how optional technology becomes mandatory. AI excels at the parts of trucking humans find boring but businesses find expensive. Predicting traffic patterns, optimizing routes, scheduling maintenance, and maintaining steady fuel-efficient speeds. Freight routes are repetitive, and repetition is exactly what AI thrives on. And when profitability becomes the goal, the human becomes the cost. This shift does not erase drivers overnight. It thins them out slowly. Assist features arrive first. Then the job turns into monitoring rather than driving. Then humans handle local roads while AI handles highways. That exact model is already being used. Kodiak and Loadsmith described autonomous trucks hauling goods on interstates while human drivers manage pickups and deliveries. It sounds like a compromise, but it also creates a learning system that improves with every mile. Over time, the human role shrinks to the edges. When humans are only needed for exceptions, they eventually become the exception. So what replaces them? A central decision brain? The real prize in autonomous trucking is not ownership of the truck itself. It is ownership of the decision layer, the platform that decides routes, schedules, load matching, and performance priorities. The system that knows where freight is moving, when it is moving, and why it is moving. Control that layer, and you can influence the entire supply chain. You can prioritize shippers, shift capacity quietly, and see demand before the market reacts. You stop running trucks and start shaping commerce. This pattern is not new. Travel, media, advertising, retail, and payments all went through similar transformations. Software platforms began as tools and became gates. Some of this future is already here. Aurora has launched a driverless trucking service on public highways in Texas, running routes between Dallas and Houston. Its customers include Uber, Freight, and Hirschbach Motor Lines. Aurora reports more than 10,000 autonomous deliveries and over 3 million miles driven. At the same time, it reported heavy financial losses in 2024. That combination matters. It shows real operations under intense pressure to prove a viable business model. After years of spending, investors want returns. Freight is one of the few use cases that can generate them. But scaling faster raises uncomfortable questions about safety and accountability. Even the current human system is under strain. Federal reviews have found that many trucking schools fail to meet minimum training standards. Thousands of commercial licenses have faced scrutiny or delayed revocation due to lawsuits and enforcement gaps. This instability creates an opening. Machines do not get tired. They do not lose focus. They do not break rules out of impatience. But when a machine makes a mistake, responsibility becomes harder to trace. It fragments across vendors, software versions, sensors, and operational policies. Accountability dissolves into complexity. And complexity is where power hides. The entities best positioned to survive this are the biggest players. The ones with legal teams, lobbying power, and contracts designed to absorb risk. Tech revolutions often reward those who can move fast and withstand consequences. That is why partnerships like Kodiak and Bosch matter. Bosch is one of the world's largest automotive suppliers. Its involvement signals a supply chain forming around autonomy, just as it once did around smartphones and cloud computing. Once supply chains lock in, futures stop being debated and start becoming defaults. If a carrier can run routes with lower costs and higher uptime, shippers will demand it. Insurers will price for it. Regulators will adapt to it. Competitors will chase it. None of this requires universal agreement. It only requires enough success in the right lanes. That is why the shift feels slow until it suddenly does not. The real tipping point arrives when AI does more than drive. It plans freight flows better than humans ever could. It predicts demand, positions trucks early, and reduces empty miles at scale. At that point, the system becomes trusted. And trust is sticky. Most people will never see this system directly. They will feel it through prices, shortages, and delivery times. The cause stays hidden while the effects become visible. That brings us to the deepest issue of all: power. If AI controls how goods move, it can decide who gets served first when capacity tightens. It can shape which regions thrive and which fall behind. Movement becomes leverage. So, the final question is unavoidable. If movement becomes leverage, who is building that leverage now?